Okay, it is 5:30, so we are going to reconvene our meeting. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand and join us. And students, if you would like to start it, that would be great. Thank you. We are so excited. This is why we all are on school board, is for you students. And we are going to start with the presentation from our students. Focus on the students.
Montessori education centers around what is called the 5 Great Lessons. These lessons guide our studies for the entire school year. They cover all areas of the curriculum that we have aligned with Nebraska state standards.
In the Montessori setting leads to enthusiasm. We get excited and curious and learn to explore on our own.
In the Montessori method, we work at our own speed. We have highly experienced teachers who give us the freedom to succeed at our own levels.
Great Lesson 1. The charts and lessons make us curious and excited to learn new topics like astronomy, chemistry, physics, geology, and geography. Great Lesson 2. Every living thing has a job to do. We use a visual timeline of life that breaks down history into eras. We learn about dinosaurs, animals, plants, and microorganisms and how they all connect.
Great Lesson 3. We learn to understand our existence on Earth, our place in the world, and our personal responsibility in making the world a better place by using our hands, heart, and mind.
Great Lesson 4. Human beings have always used language, pictures, and symbols to speak with each other, progressing from grunts and hand gestures to the alphabet. We use our words and writing to express how we feel and record what we see.
Great Lesson 5. The common language of a human race is mathematics. Over our 30,000-year history, numbers have evolved from numbers to geometry and to infinity and beyond.
We would like to show you a very small piece of the big picture. Please walk around the room to the 5 different stations that represent the 5 great lessons. Feel free to ask questions as you walk around to each great lesson. Miss Houseman will ring her bell when it's time to stop and go back to your seats.
seated. You ready to go?
This is the Montessori difference, seeking to create curious kids who grow into lovers of education. We are learning to understand how everything and everyone works together peacefully. Thank you for allowing us to present this evening.
Nice job.
Thank you, kids. That was really good. Thank you, Mrs. Hausman, for bringing your students. We learned a lot. We just needed more time before you rang that bell. Thank you. This is the time in the meeting where you're welcome to stay or you may quickly leave. We won't watch you leave. It's okay, or you can stay.
We understand it's important to get children home in a timely manner.
Mrs. Hausman, was this your whole school that came tonight? Yeah, that was a great participation. That is amazing. That is awesome. We'll just give them a minute. Okay, if you're watching the agenda, we are on item number 6. Discuss, consider, and take action to accept the resignation of board member Dr. Jenna Hatfield-Wade. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you, Madam President. Dr. Jenna Hatfield-Wade has submitted a letter of resignation effective immediately. In her letter, Jenna stated that she is grateful for the opportunity to have worked with the countless leaders in this community who appreciate the vision of our city and public school system. She also thanked those who have offered their guidance and commitment during her tenure. According to Board Policy 8201, the remaining members of the board shall fill this vacancy via appointment. I will outline that process for you in my superintendent's report later this evening.
I would make a motion to accept the resignation of board member Jenna Hatfield-Wade.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Tammy and a second by Jake. Is there any discussion?
It's always sad to see someone go, but we all have to do what we have to do. So I just want to thank Jenna for her service and commitment to the school district and to our community. We know hopefully you're not going anywhere and you'll continue to be an advocate for Norfolk Public Schools and our teachers and staff and kids, but I just want to say thank you.
I would echo that as well, Jenna. You've been a great help to me as I was new on the board in the last 15 months, and I really appreciate all the guidance that you gave me, and you always provided a tremendous level of passion, I think, for this board, which is greatly appreciated, and thanks for your service to the board. Much appreciated.
I ditto Jake, being the newbie. Just watching my computer when I wasn't on the right page and what button I should be pushing. And so thank you for your support and keeping me on track and being a good mentor for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenna. Please vote. Did you want to talk first? Sorry, Jenna.
I figured this would be the appropriate time
Sure,
to
perfect.
go ahead and,
Okay, sorry.
share a couple comments myself.
Ironically, I had a photo memory pop up today that reminded me that exactly 2 years ago today I was putting out election signs, toting around my 2 kids, putting out election signs in yards. I've learned a lot about our school system in those 2 years, and for the most part enjoyed this whole experience. I want to thank the other board members, past and present, who have had the opportunity to work alongside. Each of them has always done a great job of bringing their unique perspective to the board. And I'd also like to thank the administration and the teachers for continuously working towards creating the best possible opportunities for our students. When I moved back to my hometown 8 years ago, I immediately had a desire to get involved in hopes that I could make an impact on our community. In fact, that's one of the reasons why my husband and I chose to move from Lincoln back to Norfolk. We wanted to live in a community where we could see the direct result of giving back our time and energy. We wanted to have a direct hand in helping to create a better future for our children. I can't remember a time in the last 8 years that I wasn't devoting my time to a various board, committee, or council. Even though I became increasingly busy being a wife, a mom, and a business owner, the sacrifice of my time and energy towards all of these things that I was passionate about seemed worth it. And for the most part, serving on the school board has been the same. But unfortunately, recently, my perspective on this has changed, which has led me to make the difficult decision to resign from this position. I've decided I need to reprioritize my time and energy and focus on myself, my family, and my business. I get that there are risks in putting yourself out there in the public eye. Serving in an elected position opens you up to extra criticism and critique regarding the position that you fill. But I'm not sure when that started to mean that someone's personal life should be open for criticism and discussion as well. My personal life and what I choose to do with it does not affect my ability to sit on this board and make quality decisions regarding the educational development of the children in this community, which is the exact task assigned to this board in its code of ethics. In this code, we are instructed to work with our fellow school board members in a spirit of harmony and cooperation, convert our differences of opinion into discussion and debate, and turn this into a consensus for the benefit of the students of NPS. We are to base our decisions upon available facts, vote our honest conviction, and then abide and uphold the final majority decision of the board. I feel I have done nothing but this. I have taken every difficult vote and attempted to always evaluate how it would affect all stakeholders, including students, teachers, administration and staff, parents and families, taxpayers, and community members. When thinking of our students, I always try and remember that we have students of all different intellectual capabilities, ethnicities, religions, socioeconomic status, sexual identity, and family structure. I've always prided myself in attempting to evaluate what their perspective might look like in regards to the decisions we make and the policy we put forth. Recently, my personal life was the reason why some concerned community members felt that I should no longer serve this position, regardless of all the other things I have just mentioned. After that, my personal life continued to be a form of entertainment for people of the community to discuss at free will, to the point that my employees could no longer go to local businesses without being bombarded with questions about the juicy details of my personal life. I was contacted, albeit anonymously, several times by people voicing their displeasure or disagreement for my personal life choices. As much as a person can try, ultimately these things begin to wear on you until all of a sudden, the time and the energy required to stay committed to this position has taken such a toll on a person's life and mental health that it no longer seems important anymore. It's getting harder and harder for boards to find volunteers who are willing to sacrifice their free time to participate. And that may not necessarily be the case this election year for our Norfolk School Board, but that is the general trend. If communities are going to be so quick to judge and critique volunteers, especially when these critiques are not based in fact or are unrelated to the actual duties of the volunteer position, I fear what the future may hold. With that, again, I thank all of the current board members and administrators, and I wish all of you, including those running for election, the best of luck.
Thank you, Jenna. Please vote.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Thank you, Mary. We are now to number 7, public comments and communication. is the time during the meeting when the public may request to address the board. According to state law, if you wish to comment, you must identify yourself, including your address, the name of the organization you represent, and the topic that you wish to address. Public comment cards are located at the media table in the back of the room. Please pick up a card and provide the required information if you plan to speak. Each individual's comments will be limited to 5 minutes. Please note that the board cannot discuss or act upon matters that are not listed on the agenda. Therefore, board members will not respond to your comments or questions. If you wish to request that an item be placed on a future board agenda, you may contact the superintendent or her assistant during normal business hours. Also note that concerns related to school personnel need to be addressed to the superintendent using the approved district protocol. Would anybody like to speak?
My name is Beth Leshak. I'm a parent in the school district. I come tonight to address Jenna and tell her thank you. Thank you for being strong. Thank you for standing up for our children. And this is the world that we don't want. We don't want a world of bullies that push people out when they're doing the good work. I just want to remind the community that if we all live in glass houses, we probably shouldn't throw stones. So we appreciate your work.
Thank you, Beth. Would anybody else like to speak? Okay, thank you. That will close the public comments. We are to number 8, information and discussion items. 8.1, finance and facility report. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you, Madam President. The total amount of claims to be approved on the consent agenda for the month of October by fund are listed below. The total amount of claims for the month of September in the activity fund is also listed. All these claims were reviewed earlier today by our Finance and Facility Committee. The on-site portion of the 21-22 audit has been completed, and a final audit report will be presented to the board next month. I'll entertain any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. 8.2, teaching and learning report. Mrs. Nelson.
Thank you, Madam President. Many of the items that I could report on tonight are related and found in the curriculum committee report, which will be read very soon here. So out of respect for time, I won't repeat that information. But additional information, the statewide classification for AQuest accountability system has been sent out to the districts for review. The statewide spring assessment results have also been made available. We are currently going through a verification process to assure that the data is indeed accurate, and families will soon or may have already received their own child's individual student report. Parents and guardians that have questions are encouraged to ask teachers and principals at their parent-teacher conferences that will be held soon. And it is planned for me to present at the district information on the accountability system in December, so we can have a full review of that together.
Thank you, Beth. 8.3, student programs report. Mrs. Luer.
Thank you, Madam President. Elkhorn Logan Valley Public Health Department is providing flu shots for our staff October 6th, which is last week, the 11th and 14th. CPR classes will be held October 27th and 28th for selected staff. I will be attending NDE stakeholders meeting for results-driven accountability on October 20th in Lincoln, and November 3rd and 4th I will attend the Tri-State Special Education Law Conference with 2 of our NPS principals.
Thank you, Mary.
Are there any questions? Sorry.
8.4, Student Services Report. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam President. On September 14th, Mrs. Hutchinson, receptionist at the high school, Officer Dave, and I attended the school secretary safety training in Fremont. This training is designed to help our front door receptionists better understand our standard response protocols and visitor procedures. It really reinforced a lot of the great things we are already doing at Norfolk Public Schools when it comes to safety procedures, visitor protocols, and general situational awareness. Takeaways from this training have been shared with building secretaries. Also, as Beth mentioned, October 12th will be the official last day of first quarter. Teachers will be finalizing grades the rest of this week, and then next week we'll be conducting our first semester parent-teacher conferences. Conferences this year will be more like they had been prior to COVID. Building principals and teachers are working to schedule and provide in-person conferences for all families. If that just isn't possible, staff will work with parents, guardians to provide Zoom or phone conference options as well. We want to encourage parents, guardians to attend those conferences, as some of the best educational outcomes can occur when the parent, guardian, the student, and the school are all working together towards graduation and preparing the student to pursue their goals for the future. The conference times are listed below. Any questions?
How can it be first quarter over already? Wow. Thanks, Eric. 8.5, Human Resources and Accreditation. Mrs. Baumann.
Thank you, Madam President. Today I was at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln and was on a Meet the Districts panel for a couple hours in the morning, and then participated in the UNL Educator Career Fair. Tomorrow I will be at Wayne State College for their Student Teacher Fair. I am working to gain the interest of potential teachers to apply at MPS for teaching positions that we may have coming up at the end of school year. Just an update also, last month I reported that MPS currently has 8 student teachers in our district. The requests have already started coming in for the spring 2023 semester. I currently have 18 requests from Wayne State College, and since this was posted, I have 1 request from UK, and this is the most we have received from Wayne State in one semester since I've been here. So in the past 3 years, this is the most that we have received for requests. And I attribute this increase to the compensation package that we are now offering to student teachers. This group of requests consists of requests in the areas of English, math, science, special education, vocal and instrumental music, art, physical education, and elementary education. Although we do not yet know what openings we will have for the 2023-2024 school year, these are several of the areas that were difficult for us to fill for the current school year. Are there any questions?
It would be great if we could retain these teachers. That's awesome. Good
Agreed.
job. Thanks, Angie.
Thank you.
And is a spring semester student teacher likely a graduate in May? Then that's
They
kind
are.
of the
Yep, it's
time
always
frame.
the semester
Okay.
preceding graduation. So we do have 8 student teachers now that will be looking for jobs also. So that gives us a nice candidate pool for when we start receiving either retirement letters or resignation letters.
Thanks, Angie. We are to 8.6, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. I have provided you with a copy of our monthly enrollment report, but we'll spend my time this evening discussing the board appointment process and timeline. As you know, Dr. Jenna Waite Hatfield's resignation was accepted this evening. The timeline begins tomorrow when we will we will send a notice of our board opening to the county clerks in Madison, Stanton, Wayne, and Pierce counties, and also to the Norfolk Daily News. The following day, October 12th, we will finalize our advertisement with the Daily News and place that on our Norfolk Public Schools website. On October 14th, our first ad will appear in the Norfolk Daily News. October 19th, our second ad, and October 26th, our third ad. Applications for the open board position will be open to the superintendent's office by 4 p.m. on November 2nd. On November 14th, 2022, during our regular Board of Education meeting, we will interview, and the board will interview and choose a replacement to fill that position. Each sitting board member will ask candidates one question. Those questions will need to be submitted to me by November 2nd. And I did provide you with the most recent questions for you to review as you choose your question. The new board member will be seated and remain in office until the general election. So they will seat from December 12th until November of 2024. Are there any questions about that process?
They would actually serve through the end of 2024, whether they were elected or not, correct? They
Correct.
don't move in November, they.
Right,
it
they
just
will
says the
stay, okay,
November
so
election.
through that election, at which place they may be replaced, but they serve until January of 25, when the new member or that person is actually seated.
We encourage you to apply. It's a very transparent, what's the good word? Process. It's a very transparent process because the candidates sit right here and we sit right here and nobody leaves to go behind doors, and we ask questions and then we go around and we vote right here in front of everybody, and we say only positive good things. We try to get somebody who really cares about our community, our kids, our teachers, and are good stewards of our money. So we really encourage some applicants. Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Committee reports, 9.1, Facilities and Finance Committee. Tammy Day.
Thank you. The committee met today at noon and reviewed claims for the month of October and activity claims for September. We had auditors join us today to provide an overview of the 21-22 audit of our financial records and answered questions for us. I don't want to give it away, but it looks pretty good. They were very complimentary of Norfolk Public Schools and our processes, so it's nice to have that outside perspective come in. But we'll be reviewing that at future board meetings leading up to kind of accepting the audit at a future date. We also took a look at the current district projects, talked about the condition of the 6th Street track. Sorry, there's a fly that likes me a lot right now, and it's very distracting. We reviewed the schedule and specifics for some interviews we have with insurance vendors coming up on the 26th of October. Reviewed the negotiations process for 22-23, which will begin at the end of the month, and looked at current cash reserves and potential upcoming issues. So we got through a lot in a short amount of time, so good stuff happening there, and it shows up, either on this agenda or future ones, so we'll be discussing those further. Our next meeting is November 14th at noon. I guess if there are any questions.
Thank you, Tammy. 9.2, Government Relations. You are up again. No drinking.
Okay. Yes, Government Relations Committee met with, it's not our season. We mostly meet during the legislative session, but in the off season, we do some other work getting ready. So we met with the new executive director for Stand for Schools. His name is Denixie Gersera. We met with him on October 5th. They came to Norfolk, get out to meet people. Denixie shared information with the committee regarding his background, as well as plans to move the Stand for Schools organization forward. Stand for Schools advocates on behalf of strong public schools in Nebraska, a lot of times focused on issues like school privatization, tax credits, vouchers, things like that, but anything to promote and celebrate the great work that our schools do here in the state. And then we talked about some possible school finance issues and the negative impact that charter schools and voucher programs would have on public education. So that was our off-season work that we did this month.
Thank you, Tammy. 9.3, Curriculum Committee Report. Leanne Whithelm. Technology is always a treat.
Fix it, please. Okay, thanks. The Curriculum Committee meeting began at 2:20 p.m. on September 30th. The agenda contains several course proposals from the senior high. Austin Castleberry, Career Academy Coordinator, was present to give an explanation of the Career Academy classes being proposed. Mr. Castleberry updated the committee on the steps taken last year with stakeholders to examine the community needs in the area of computer science. There were overwhelming support from local businesses and teachers to adjust our current course offerings to better align with the Department of Education's updated career academies and meet community employment needs. 2 courses were proposed to complete an academy in the area of computer sciences. The IT Fundamentals course already exists at the senior high as an introductory course for the pathway. Computer Science Principles and Computer Science A were proposed as an immediate and capstone courses for the academy. In order to make room for the class and teacher schedules, the elective course of Hospitality and Tourism will be cut. Currently, this course does not fulfill a Career Academy purpose and is not a popular course chosen by students. 2 programs have been researched for teaching the program, Project Lead the Way and Code.
It's always fun to figure this out in front of a room full of people too, so thank you for your patience.
Project Lead the Way and Code.org. Code.org is provided free of charge based in Nebraska and is used in other schools with similar programs. This particular program can place a student in a job offering IT help or on track for 2 to 4 year degree in cybersecurity. Neither of these course proposals require the addition of staff members or purchasing of materials. If Code.org is used, the next 2 courses proposed are to complete a Digital Design Academy. Digital media already exists in course offerings as an introductory course. Digital Design and Foundations of Web Design are proposed courses to serve as immediate and capstone courses for the Academy. Digital Design would replace the existing commercial art course, but plays a very similar role with the curriculum content. The Foundations of Web Design would replace the existing section of digital media, but has more intentional and focused topics for the Academy. These courses can provide employment opportunities for students without post-high school degrees in website development or social media design. Neither of these courses would require the hiring of additional staff or purchasing of new materials. The last Career Academy course proposal was the area of culinary arts. The senior high has the introductory course, Fundamentals of Nutrition and Culinary, and the intermediate course, Culinary 1. The capstone course of the program, Culinary 2, was proposed to complete the academy. Through careful scheduling of Culinary Academy students, a section can be made available for Culinary 2 without the need of additional lab space or teachers. Existing materials and open education resources online can be used for this course. The last course proposed for the senior high school came from the Social Studies Department. The course proposed was Holocaust and Genocide Studies. This course is an elective course that would be made available to seniors and possibly some juniors. The 2 existing elective courses offered from the Social Studies Department would be cut and replaced with this new course. World History and Psychology, the semester version, are found to be redundant to the newly required World History at 9th grade and the year-long course of Psychology. The newly passed LB 888 requires schools to include Holocaust education in the senior high. While we are still waiting for the guidance of law implementation from NDE, it is likely the topics of this course could suffice this requirement. Other topics discussed at the Curriculum Committee meeting included the newly adopted math standards, the math program pilots in K-12, the completed scope and sequence in technology as a fulfillment of LB 1112, as well as the environmental science textbooks that are under review. we covered a lot in that meeting, and I want to thank Beth and the curriculum committee with all that they prepared for us, and it was well organized. And I just say, with our discussion with the SROs in our pre-meeting, talking about that proactive and reactive kind of thing, I think with this curriculum, we're really being proactive in a lot of things, even though we don't have to have this right now, but we've got it all planned. If through the LB 888, if it needs to be tweaked, we can just tweak it, but we've got it going in the process. And the timelines that were given were awesome. It's not like we're just taking things out of a hat and going, we got to cover this now, we got to cover this now. We've got a plan for the next, 5 years on what we need to do and accomplish at Norfolk Public Schools at the high school level. So I really appreciate us being this proactive on this and getting this done, and with the great team that we have. It was great.
These laws passed in the last session.
LB 888 was, yes.
Funded mandate.
Yes, ma'am.
I might just real quickly too, that it's not without some reservation whenever you have to cut a class. And so, again, Beth and her team did a really nice job of, sort of showing us the enrollment figures of the last few years. And I mean, we're talking single digits for the most part. And so not to diminish the importance to those students, but I think we can all appreciate computer science as a general thing is where the explosion of jobs. And again, we want to serve our students in the best possible way. And I think this curriculum really starts to get honing in on preparing them for jobs that are going to be available in the future. So I would certainly echo what Leanne said as well. I mean, all the preparation, everything that goes into that, Beth, is really impressive. So thank you.
And I also had the pleasure of being at the high school today and visiting Mrs. Miller's Culinary 1 class. They were doing food lab, and she invited me to watch her food lab. And I'm a bad cook, so this was amazing to watch, where she had 20 kids in there, and they all were in labs, and they all had their jobs that they were doing, and they were making pretzel bites and things for the teachers for parent-teacher conference. And so it was very interesting, and it was great. And we talked a little bit about Culinary 2 class for the years coming up, and she was excited about that. So.
Visiting on Food Lab Day is a smart one, Leanne.
I had a plan.
I'm going to get that one too.
We heard kind of throughout this report that neither of these courses will require hiring additional staff or purchasing new materials. So does that mean like code.org is just a website they go to, and some of these other classes are not going to be taught for the career academies?
So no, the code.org would be in replacement, not buying a textbook. It would be the materials are found online. Code.org is partially funded and designed through the University of Nebraska Lincoln as well.
So what is code? I mean, would I
Well,
go to
it would
a
be
class?
like the curriculum. It's the curriculum to the course, right? Mm-hmm.
Is there a teacher in the classroom?
Well, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The teacher facilitates the lessons. It's just the learning experiences, the activities, the reading, those pieces. Instead of buying a textbook, you would use code.org for the resources to teach the class.
So we already have a teacher going to teach that, because it said would not require hiring additional staff.
Exactly, correct.
Yes, our existing computer science teacher will teach the course using online materials through code.org, which were actually created and supported by Amazon, Microsoft, Google, leading technology experts across the country.
And if any course made sense to do this way, I think it's the Computer Science Career Academy. Things change so quickly that a textbook, by the time it goes through a publication process in that field, probably is already outdated in many ways. So I love the innovative approach to trying to find something that's kind of live and in the moment for that kind of academy, because that's what those students will do in their jobs. You don't go take a class and read a textbook. You're like figuring it out how to do the latest thing, and you're working with experts. And so I think it's kind of cool. I'm excited to see how it goes.
Well, and as Leanne mentioned too, it's not something that we just dreamt up. This has been something we worked on for a couple of years through, we have guiding groups that help with our career academies. So we had folks from the community come in and as stakeholders visit with us about what they're needing in the workforce.
Yes, I was a part of the Computer Science Career Academy Steering Committee, and I'll be honest, a lot of the time I didn't understand what the community members were talking about. We had people from Nucor and Norfolk Iron and Metal and the hospital and places like that that are doing informational technology and computers for a living, and they got into some things that were above my head, but that's because we need those type of people directing what we're doing in these courses.
And when we had the meeting, I was pleased with Austin's kind of report where I was saying that right now with the Nursing Career Academy that you can get a CNN right in high school. And with this technology one, with Career Academy, that these students can come out of high school and be hired at, what are those, call centers, and right out of high school. And then they can go into web design and things like that. And so we're making these students really career ready right out of high school, and then with a little more training they can do more things.
Academy numbers up or down? Do you know this year? Or?
I have not looked at the Career Academy numbers this year, but we can do that in a future study session.
Absolutely, that we could get that information for you.
Thank you, Leanne. We are now to the American Civics Committee report, and you get that one too.
And it's on paper. The American Civics Committee began at 2:00 p.m. on Friday, September 30th, 2022. Notification of this meeting was published in the Norfolk Daily News on September 22nd. No formal action was needed during the meeting. The information shared from Beth Nelson, Director of Teaching and Learning, consisted of an update on course material that were purchased for 5th through 8th grade social studies last school year. All pieces of the program materials are performing correctly, and implementation has been smooth. The rearrangement of senior high courses to meet state standards has been put into action this fall with no issues.
Thank you, Leanne. 9.5, Norfolk Public Schools Foundation Committee report. Brenda Carhart.
The Board of Directors met on September 19th at 4:30 at the Administration Building. 9 board members are present. Board Treasurer Brenda Carhart served as president and called the meeting to order at 4:33. The board reviewed the meeting minutes from June and financial reports from May, June, and July. Dual credit scholarships were awarded in August. They're to 125 students for $100, and this comes from the Margaret Robinson Dual Credit Scholarship. So dual credit scholarships are intended for current high school students interested in pursuing dual credit learning through Northeast during time at Norfolk Public Schools. Our scholarship committee put a lot of time and consideration into this process with a very tight timeline. We appreciate their efforts. So basically what that means is any student that want to take a class from Northeast through this Margaret Robinson, they will pay $100 towards that tuition, which makes it more affordable for many kids to take college classes in high school. The 2022 Mps Staff Campaign kicked off on August 8th and ended on August 19th. Overall, the campaign went well, raising $17,000 in a few short weeks. We had 42% participation. The foundation is inviting the public to our Traditions Breakfast on Thursday, October 27th at 7 a.m. at the Lifelong Learning Center. This is our main fundraiser for the year, where we plan to celebrate the tradition of excellence at Norfolk Public Schools. All funds raised by this event will benefit the Norfolk Public Schools Foundation and will help support students and teachers in our district. We hope to see everyone there. Our next board meeting will be Monday, October 17th at 4:30 again. Any questions?
I just had a question on the Mps Staff Campaign with 42% participation. And I was kind of talking to Callan about this, and she says it's been for the last couple of years, it's been in the 40%. I remember, being a staff member, and we always prided ourselves on, we were in like the 80-90% on that. And so I was just wondering what the concern, or is it a new way you're doing it, or?
No, and we even offer prizes for people that, to the building that has the most participation, or, anybody that participates is eligible for another prize. So I don't know. It could be too, maybe more young teachers that aren't giving as, as the retired, higher paid teachers, maybe are better givers than the new young staff. That's a good question, and I don't have an answer as to why more people don't contribute.
Because I know we always talked about that as a classroom grants, we would get those grants and we would get that money, and so to give even $20, $25 or something like that would benefit that, and so I was just concerned with that number when I saw that.
Yeah, I think one thing we've been talking about, Leanne, and Brenda's 100% right, I don't think we do know, but we have been talking about, maybe trying to do a little more education. We have had a lot of staff turnover over the last couple of years, and just making sure people understand the connection between what the foundation does and how that can benefit them in their classroom. And I think also, I don't know if we're asking enough questions as to why, why would you support this? Why would you not support this? And those sorts of things. And not to put anybody on the spot, obviously, as much as just get some real-time feedback from our staff. And so that'll take a little bit of time, but I think that it's definitely something we're all cognizant of. And 100% would obviously be great, but I think we'd sure like to be over at least in the 60s or 70s, and understanding how we got there, I think, is a big piece of that next puzzle.
You remember we had pie last meeting because all of the Board of
Education, 100%.
100% donated, so.
That's right. So thank you for that, everybody.
So there's pie.
Well, there was pie last meeting. They're not, but that's kind of the, we offer gifts or incentives. We try to, but.
I do like your idea of just asking why or why not. What would encourage you to participate? Like trying to dig into that. Maybe it's something simple that you just, you do it so often you kind of forget maybe all the pieces and parts. But I think it's important to remind people too that the foundation has to raise all of its dollars every single year to support the work that it does in all of the classrooms across the district and all the other things. So, that's just the situation we're in. And so, yeah, I like the education piece too. So thank you for sharing those ideas.
Brenda, do you know what the Traditions Breakfast usually raises?
We have over 30,000 in sponsorships right now. So
that's awesome. Mm-hmm. So that's not down.
Our goal, yes, it's not down.
That's great. Thanks, Brenda. Okay, we are to the consent agenda items. 10.1 is the minutes of the previous meetings, so September 12th and September 28th are attached for your review. 10.2 is personnel. We have no contract approvals, but we do have a resignation. Dr. Thompson.
Yes, Dr. Mark Clausen, our school psychologist, will be retiring at the end of the school year. And yes, it will be very difficult to replace a school psychologist. He has been with us for many years, and it is time for him to retire.
It was nice that he let you know so early, just given the difficulty of finding people with his skills in that position. So, yeah, that will be, as any retiring personnel, it's a big loss for the district, but people, have life stages and have to move on, so wishing him all the best.
And is he the one that does the Joy Club?
Yeah, he does
yes,
Joy
does
too,
some
doesn't
great
he?
things, yes.
Yeah.
We are going to miss him.
School and junior high is Joy, or in high school too?
Anybody got booed, it was from him, if you know what happened with that. Did you get booed? Oh, yeah. Somebody, you had to pay to get this boo sign out of your front yard. Thank you, whoever booed me. For a good cause, so yes. Point 3 is claim. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. Attached are the claims for the month of October. As stated earlier, these were reviewed by our Finance and Facility Committee. We do have 2 conflict statements for this month that will need to be read before voting.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Tammy and a second by Jake. Is there any discussion?
I'll read my potential conflict statement. What really happened is I went to a Nebraska school board training at Lifelong Learning Center, and the school paid for it. It was $70. So because of that, I got to read this. Out of abundance of caution, I hereby declare a potential conflict of interest, and I am abstaining from voting on claim number 488 for the month of October in the consent agenda for this meening. That's the claim where they pay Northeast Community College for my training. I have signed and filed this written disclosure with the Secretary of the Board. It is my intent to vote on all other remaining items listed on the consent agenda. My vote on the remainder of the consent items should not be taken as a vote one way or the other on the item which I have identified or any other matters set forth therein or related thereto.
And I also attended the same meeting that Brenda attended. Out of abundance of caution, I hereby declare a potential conflict of interest, and I am abstaining from voting on Claim 491 for the month of October in the consent agenda for this meeting. I have signed and filed this written disclosure with the Secretary of the Board. It is my intent to vote on all other remaining items listed on the consent agenda. My vote on the remainder of the consent items should not be taken as a vote one way or the other on these items identified or any of the matters set forth therein or related thereto.
Just rolls off your tongue, doesn't it?
Yeah. Please vote.
Moment I had to fix something.
Yeah. It's just one of those nights. Is it Monday? No. It is Monday. Oh, it's Monday night. Okay. Amy made the motion and Jake seconded.
There, it's open.
Please vote.
Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you, Mary. That brings us to action items. 11.1, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the addition of a third school resource officer with expenses to be shared with the Norfolk Police Department. Dr. Thompson.
The addition of a third school resource officer is recommended by both our administration team and the Norfolk Police Department. This would allow us to have full-time police officers at the middle school, junior high, and senior high, optimizing school safety and security in those buildings. All costs would be split 50-50 with the Norfolk Police Department / City of Norfolk. This proposal was discussed at length during our study session, but I or Mr. Wilson would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
This was worked into our budget that we just approved, the expense?
Yes, we have the money within our current budget, but more than likely, this probably would not be an expense until the following year, as the City of Norfolk needs to hire several police officers for regular duty before they could assign one to assist with the middle school.
If anybody missed, it was a very informative study session with just great
Really good.
information. Our SROs right now do an amazing job, and our goal is always to keep our schools safe and our children safe. That's number one. And we know the climate of different communities right now, and we never want that here, ever.
I would make a motion to approve the addition of a third school resource officer with expense to be shared with the Norfolk Police Department and the City of Norfolk.
Second that?
We have a motion by Jake, a second by Leanne. Is there any further discussion?
I would just like to say I appreciated all the information tonight. It was very helpful having the history shared and kind of the evolution of the program. We have to make decisions every single time we meet about how do we allocate resources. And to me, there's no better use of those resources than to be proactive with our students and their families and helping people just navigate the many issues that they face, and in protecting our students and teachers and staff and making our community a better place. So I loved, I think the chief said, we never really know what we prevent from happening, but I believe a position like this helps us to hedge that bet even further, and the fact that with this investment, hopefully we are preventing a lot of heartache down the road for kids and families in our community. So thank you for sharing such detail. That was very helpful.
And as I said in the study session, that I was teaching at the junior high when Officer Dave started. And just to watch that position grow, and to the new officers that are taking the lead also, they do amazing work, and I just think it can only get better and better as the years go.
Please vote.
Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you, Mary. We are to 11.2, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the Emergency Operations Plan. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam President. This is Emergency Operations Plan that was created by the safety team and approved by the board last year. Any changes made to this plan must be approved by the board. This year, only changes that were made were staffing changes and their related contact information, such as the new principals at Jefferson and Grant. I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Operations plan is emergency, just how to exit the building the quickest, or what is really in the Cliff Notes version, what is it?
So the state has having all schools develop an EOP, the emergency operation plans. We do that in conjunction with the safety teams, and it's not just how to exit the building, it's everything from why we would call a snow day, how we would call a snow day, who's in charge in certain situations, contact information at all the buildings, maps of the buildings, all the way from, again, snow days to a possible school shooter or bomb threat or something.
So every time there's a personnel change, it needs to be updated. That's basically what we're doing, is
correct
housekeeping. Okay.
I'll make a
Make
motion.
changes with the grant, the new grant, and the additions and things too?
Yep, those maps were added as well, correct, yes.
Or is the other school?
I'll make a motion to approve the 22-23 Emergency Operations Plan.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Tammy and a second by Jake. Is there any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you, Mary. 11.3, discuss, consider, and approve the career and technical education courses for the senior high that include the computer science principles, computer science A, digital design, foundations of web design, and culinary 2. Mrs. Nelson.
Thank you. As mentioned before, the State Department of Education has updated the career and technical education standards and programs of study. In order for the senior high to meet appropriate criteria for career academies, a correct course sequence must be followed. A computer science career academy has been in the making for a couple of years with the inclusion of community stakeholders. The addition of the 2 computer science courses, Computer Science Principles and Computer Science A, Norfolk Senior High will have the proper curriculum sequence. The same is true for the addition of digital design and foundations of web design and the Culinary 2 course. As mentioned in the committee report, no additional staff or materials will be needed.
I move to approve the career and technical education courses for the senior high that includes computer science principles, computer science A, digital design, foundations of web design, and culinary 2.
I would like to thank Mrs. Nelson and her team for looking at this in the most conservative financial manner possible. She could have come to us with a proposal that added a computer science teacher and a family and consumer science teacher and a social studies teacher, but instead we looked at the most efficient way of doing business at the senior high and reallocated our resources and our courses to do this in an economically feasible manner. So I appreciate that.
Will this cost for these classes then by?
Well, there won't be an additional cost. We have the equipment in place already. It's just about the curriculum content that will be taught. And 2, I did want to mention, I didn't mention, I do have the standards set aside over there for people to review if they're interested in looking at what all is involved in a Culinary 2 course or what all is involved in Computer Science A. And I also left my business cards there, so anybody that wants to email me, call me, anything like that, I'm happy to have the conversation. We spend that time in committee reviewing that at length, but yeah.
I hate to tell you this, but we kind of jumped the gun with our discussion because we have no second.
I will second.
Oops.
I will second the motion.
Thank you, Jake. Is there discussion?
All the discussion has been great.
Okay. Please vote.
Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you, Mary. 11.4, discuss, consider, and approve the addition of the Holocaust and Genocide Studies course as an elective for 11th and or 12th graders. Mrs. Nelson.
Thank you. Again, with the update of state standards and course requirements last year, NPS is needing to expand an elective course offering for the upper level senior high students. This course of the Genocide and Holocaust Studies, it will replace electives that are now currently considered redundant. So we will be replacing a semester psychology class and replacing a semester world history class, both of which occur in other courses already, if that makes sense. And because of the change of courses required at senior high, now all 9th graders take world history. So it would be absolutely a repeat. I mean, we wouldn't have kids sign up for that because they'd already taken it. So again, just and also the items for this course have been designed and put together from open education resources. So those are resources you can find online for free.
I'll make a motion to approve the addition of the Holocaust and Genocide Studies course as an elective for 11th and 12th graders.
Second that.
We have a motion by Tammy and a second by Leanne. Is there any further discussion?
To the policy committee, how do you feel that this is going to be taught? Is it going to be factual with biases?
It's fascinating. I can tell you from looking at it from A to Z the way we did last week, it's fascinating. I think it really gives the person who wants it, because it is an elective. I reiterate, I told this story last week, but I'll tell it quickly. I mean, my son would be like first in line, you know, going through world history, and it's sort of like, Dad, we learned about all this really cool stuff about World War II, but we only did it for like 2 days. This kind of allows, and it's obviously not about World War II specifically, but I think this really allows those people who are interested in going deeper into a subject that I believe they're prepared for at the 11th and 12th grade. You know, if this was a 8th grade level course or something, that might be a completely different, well, it would be a completely different conversation, not might be. But I think for our juniors and especially our seniors, to me, this kind of gives them a taste of that in-depth level thinking that they're going to encounter when they go on to college. So it's fascinating. I would encourage anybody here to look at the course topics and everything else. I mean, it's like way more than I would have ever guessed. It's really neat. I would take it if I could. I mean, it's really cool.
I think if you follow the legislature at all too, it's interesting to see how their conversations and work are showing up in a lot of the discussions we've just had tonight about reshaping what curriculum looks like at the local level. So I appreciate the curriculum committee's willingness to dig in, and you know, we've done a lot of shuffling in social studies lately at the direction of our fearless leaders at the state level, right? And so I appreciate your ability to move quickly and be more agile when these things come down and figure out cost-effective but solid ways to introduce the topics that we need to share with kids. So thank you.
And I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, Beth, or Leanne, you were obviously there as well. You know, there's a part of it too from NDE that we just don't know yet. We know that they are making us do this, but we don't know if they will come out with maybe a different requirement of something you have to hit before it's actually implemented. So I think we had a pretty solid foundation of what it would be either way, but I mean, technically, something could change from NDE between now and the actual first day of when the course is offered. But
and are these offered next fall?
That's correct.
And as far as curriculum, what's really interesting, you know, I think about when I went to school in the 70s, yes, that history was you memorize facts, you memorize names, you memorize battles, and now it's just a whole different animal. With history, you're looking at things in history, but you're using critical thinking about, why did that happen? What could be different about this? And, with this course, just like Jake said, looking at the curriculum that was presented to us, it's amazing that these kids are really going to get into some in-depth conversations. And at that junior, senior level, I think they'll be ready for it. And it'll make it better humans by looking at all this.
Okay, please vote.
Motion carried 5-0. A mistake. There's the vote up there.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, we are to 11.5. Discuss, consider, and take action to appoint one board member to serve as our voting delegate at the Nebraska Association of School Boards Assembly Delegate. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. This year's Nebraska Association of School Boards Delegate Assembly will take place Friday, November 18th at 8 a.m. in conjunction with the State Education Conference at the CHI Health Center in downtown Omaha. This delegate assembly is where the NASB's annual legislative and leadership agenda is determined. Each school board is allowed to select one board member to represent the district as their voting delegate. This delegate is responsible for reading the NASB Advocacy Handbook prior to the meeting and then voting on behalf of their school.
Jake did it last year. I did it the year before.
No, I did it the year
And
before.
Tammy did it the year before.
Nose
No
goes.
pressure, ladies. But
No, I think it's a good, and it says you have to read the whole handbook, but it's not very long. So don't let that alarm you. But the State School Board Association is a great resource for us, and it's nice that we have a chance to vote on behalf of our school. They talk about a lot of the issues that will be coming up in the legislative session, positions that the organization takes, and just sometimes bylaws changes or things like that. So if you have any interest in that sort of work, it's kind of interesting to take a turn and attend the meeting. So that's my little plug.
just have to get up earlier than everybody
You have to get up a
else.
little earlier than normal, but yes, I really found it interesting too.
And there's some food there.
That's true.
Do we have a volunteer, or do we need to draw names out of a hat?
So do you vote on do you know what we're gonna vote on this year? Do you have any idea? How many things, important things, or is it just word changes, or?
So you will have a handbook that walks you through all of that. But for instance, it might be the NASB wants to take a stance on
Charter schools, school
charter
privatization.
schools. And then you vote whether or not to support that actual stance. If they get enough votes, then that's the stance that they move forward with throughout the legislative session. If not, then they don't take that stance.
And if you think it's questionable, you call the rest of us, and we talk about it.
Right. Can't think of anything that's
It's-
been
it's-
questionable,
it's
but
really, yeah.
Last year was pretty nondescript. I mean, probably the most discussion was actually about the makeup of the board, because some people were coming on and going off, and I mean, that was really pretty interesting. But I think it's kind of just making sure that the right people are in those leadership positions. That was the main topic for my year. So I mean, really nothing that's very controversial or anything. I mean, it's more fact-finding and pretty interesting, more so than, oh man, we're going out on a limb here with this. I mean, just really isn't.
I know, the Nebraska State Board's trying to decide if they're gonna join or not join the national board, and I'm like, we're not gonna.
I don't know, that could be.
That could come. Volunteer to do it, but I won't fight for it. I mean, if Leanne really runs it, I mean.
Well, then I make a motion to appoint Brenda to serve as our voting delegate at the Nebraska Association of School Boards Assembly Delegate.
Second that.
We have a motion by Tammy and a second by Leanne. Is there any further discussion? Thank you, Brenda.
Thanks, Brenda.
Thank you, Brenda.
Learn something.
You will.
Will, you'll,
Yeah. Please vote.
Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you, Mary. 11.6 is discuss, consider, and take action to recognize the Norfolk City Education Association as the exclusive bargaining agent for the district's non-supervisory certificated staff for the 2024-2025 contract year. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. We have received a formal written request by the Norfolk City Educational Association, known by many as the Teachers Union, to be recognized as the exclusive collective bargaining agent for non-supervisory certificated staff, otherwise known as teachers, for the 2024-2025 school year. This action is required each year by the Nebraska state statutes. We have not received any other requests this year or any other year and do not expect any. Therefore, I recommend that this request from the NCEA be approved.
I move to recognize the Norfolk City Education Association as the exclusive bargaining agent for the district's non-supervisory certificate staff for 2024-2025 contract year.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Leanne and a second by Brenda. Is there any further discussion?
This is where the negotiation committee then steps in and starts working.
That is correct. Our negotiations team will meet with the NCEA's negotiations team and work out our compensation package for the next year.
But
Jake
this-
and Leanne.
yeah. But this one is actually, we just okayed 24-25. We work really far ahead.
The statute requires you to identify the person well in advance. We have already approved the NCEA for this school year.
Close enough. Sorry.
I say please vote? No. Please vote.
Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you, Mary. Let's see. We are to the end, 11.7. Discuss, consider, take action to approve the second reading of board policies 1000 through 1120 related to community relations. Dr. Thompson.
No changes have been made to these policies since their first reading last month. The policy committee recommends them for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading of board policies 1000 to 1120 related to community relations.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Brenda and a second by Jake. Is there any discussion? Please vote.
I just always want to tell the policy committee, thank you so much for doing this. I mean, it's a lot of detailed work, and I know it's long at times, but I appreciate their efforts.
Please vote.
Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you, Mary. That takes us to the end. The second monthly meeting of the Board of Education has been scheduled for Wednesday. This is a change, Wednesday, October 26th at 1:30 p.m. It is anticipated that we will go into executive session to discuss negotiations in order to protect the interest of the district, and that no formal action will occur at this meeting. The next regular meeting of the Board of Education will be held on Monday, November 14th, 2020. The study session will begin at 5:30. I thought we weren't having a study session.
Correct.
There will be no study session. The meeting will begin at 5:30 because this is when we will interview candidates in front of everybody sitting here. And all the components of these meetings will be held at the Norfolk Public Schools Central Admin Offices right here. We're open to the public unless we need to go into executive session in order to protect the interest of the district or the reputation of an individual, which we do not have to do tonight. So, meeting adjourned.